Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. Great article from Yahoo Finance. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys could check it out. So T-Mobile agrees to sell 2.5 billion of senior notes. So again, using some debt to further fund corporate operations and whatever else they want to use that money for. So what's interesting about T-Mobile, the next phase of T-Mobile that they discussed at the Investors Day is going to make more money. Even though they still want to maintain the best value, best network, best experience, that's their strategy for the continued growth and aspirations that they have. They're going to make more money in the process. And as I told you guys in a video yesterday, they're doing it a bit more aggressive now, right? If you're on the lowest plan, a phone that's in mint condition, you're not going to give that person any money for the trade-in because they're not on a certain plan. That's a bit aggressive in my opinion, a little too aggressive, especially for a carrier that was really built on being disruptive and having the cheapest cost, right? But we have to move on, right? That happened. That's how they operate now. We just got to deal with that. So another thing that we also can discuss, right, in terms of these senior notes is T-Mobile has the ability to go into further debt. So with that 20 billion, the flexible spending as they call it, what they could do, right, this is also another option. They could further deleverage the company, meaning pay down more debt, get to 2.2, 2.1, 2.0 leverage, and then go for an even bigger company in terms of M&A. They're clearly not done with M&A. They sort of, told us at the Investors Day that they have 20 billion. They can use it for spending on M&A that's accretive to the investor, the shareholder, and the business. So they're going to look at everything. They're going to open the books and they're going to look at who they want to buy next, right? If it makes sense, they're going to do it, right? If it's a wireless carrier after the close of US Cellular, I don't know. I don't know who else they could buy that would be accretive to the business. Maybe Viaero, but they're already overlaying the Viaero footprint with their native coverage. So I don't know what other wireless business would be accretive to T-Mobile. They got Mint Mobile. If they get US Cellular, I don't think they need anything else in terms of wireless. They already have the spectrum assets. They would have more tower sites, even more spectrum from US Cellular. So I don't know who else they would need. Now, fiber, that's a whole nother story, right? There's Lumen out there. If they wanted to go bigger and buy a bigger fiber player and actually own a fiber player, they could deleverage with that flexible spending amount and maybe pull some more senior notes and buy a Lumen as an example. Or somebody that's even a JV player that's maybe a little bigger at that time, maybe Metronet, right, as an example, right? Maybe Metronet builds. They get bigger. T-Mobile is more interested, and then they just buy the remaining 50%. It's very possible, right? That's just a speculation possibility, but it's very possible, and T-Mobile is in a financial position now to do that. And as they continue to grow the rest of this year, 2025, 26, 27, they will be financially even stronger to make multiple plays. Right, at some point, we also have to discuss, future spectrum auctions. I know right now there's nothing really in the pipeline, but eventually the FCC will speak, and then T-Mobile also has to have that flexible spending to buy more spectrum and be ready to be competitive in bidding against Verizon and AT&T, right? You have to, all that now is a possibility because we will need more spectrum. It's just, even though T-Mobile has the amount that they have and the amount more than the competition, we will still need more spectrum. I'm telling you guys, right? I can't stress this enough. And I'm just being very genuine. They need more spectrum. They need it. The demand, they far outgrow their competition. Verizon and AT&T aren't even anywhere close in range as it comes to growing the way that T-Mobile is, right? Nobody's loading up the FWA network or the FWA like T-Mobile. T-Mobile is already announcing 12 million. They will probably go beyond 12 million. They're still adding 700,000 wireless ads a quarter. Nobody's loading up the network like T-Mobile. Not Verizon, not AT&T, nobody. And that will just continue. They told us very clearly at Investors Day, they are a growing company still. They have 126 million total connections. Not wireless, postpaid only, total connections. That includes everything: cars, FWA, watches, iPads. 126 million total connections. There's a lot of usage on this network. We got to keep that in mind. Yes, they have the most spectrum now, but they're using it. They're using it. Yes, they're using it to their advantage. They're using it to make money. They're monetizing. We get it. We understand it. But they're using the same playbook that they did during LTE. And I'm telling you guys, I witnessed it. At the end of LTE, the network was so loaded, they made use of every single megahertz that they just couldn't keep up anymore. They weren't investing enough at the time. They didn't plan ahead. I was reaching out to some of the local VPs at the time. I was telling them, hey, the engineers need to get on this. And that was around the time when they started deploying the small cells here, the strand mounts, but they just couldn't deploy them fast enough to alleviate the congestion. So over time, little by little, it did start, offloading connections from the macro when they started deploying more and more of those strand mounts. So that did help, but it was just a congested mess. It got so bad that during peak times, depending on the volume of traffic, you couldn't even place a call. And calls don't require that much data. Even a voice over LTE call is placed at the highest priority, even higher, and a higher QCI than the highest QCI that even FirstNet, right? I think calls are like on QCI, I don't know, 5 or even higher, and couldn't even make that call go through. It dropped. And usually the wideband only requires 13 kilobytes or something like that, and it couldn't even do that. So they're loading up the network. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. They are loading this network up with tons of traffic. I can see it now. If I'm not on ultra capacity, the network is shot, right? And I don't know what that will lead to. That's why I'm sticking around, and I kind of want to see this so I can break that down for you guys. If I'm not on ultra capacity, I'm below 20 megabits all day long. And I want to share that with you, that experience, so you can see that they're loading up the network just very rapidly, very quickly. If it's not mobile customers that they're adding on a sector, they're adding FWA. And one FWA user is the equivalent to maybe 300-400 mobile lines, right? You got to keep in mind, the average usage now on FWA is 500 gigs. The average mobile user today, the average consumer mobile user uses about 12 gigs. And that's probably on the high end. So look how many mobile lines, just do the math, how many mobile lines they could load up on a sector to the equivalent of 500 gigs that one FWA user uses in the household, right? It almost, if it wasn't for the monetization and having the extra capacity, it almost doesn't make sense to put an FWA user on a sector when you can load it up with that many mobile lines, right? One FWA customer pays you what, 40, 50 bucks a month? Maybe 60 at max if they're not using wireless. You're making $60 a month. Look at how many mobile users you could load up that will pay you multiples more using that capacity. But they're looking to monetize. They're looking to monetize that extra capacity now, but they're loading it up very, very quickly. I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Yes, they have the spectrum, but they need to continue to build material infrastructure. The spectrum is not unlimited. It's a finite resource, and they're low. And that team that's in place now, that senior level executive team at T-Mobile, they know how to load up the network. So, take that information, right? We got the 2.5 million senior notes sold, a little bit more debt to fund corporation activities and whatever else they're going to use it for. But again, keep that in the back of your mind. They are able to deleverage. They have that flexible spend available. They can deleverage and buy someone bigger. But they have they have tall tasks ahead of them. From a network perspective, they have to continue to build. They didn't disclose, maybe for competitive reasons, but they need to build. The small cell count should be higher now. The macro count should be higher, just based on, not anticipating now. They've been working on that growth plan for 2 years. So within that 2 years, trajectory, numbers, financial price analysis should have changed based on the growth. And they've been enjoying a lot of growth the last 2 years. So the future growth that they're anticipating, projecting, they usually underpromise and overdeliver. So that 12 million FWA target is likely higher, right? At the end of it, they will likely be above the 12 million. And they will probably guide up closer to 2028. Like they did this year, they will have another investors day and they will likely guide up. So we need to see activity. I'm keeping track here in my market. Good example, high market share, lots of FWA demand. We will see what happens. I will inform you guys. I will keep up progress updates on FWA, see if it can maintain, and then we'll just have to see what happens. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.